We're from Bond Adams. I work in the property department, and Chan.
I work in the family and litigation department. I'm the new starter at Bond Adams Solicitors. I'm just assisting for now.
Yeah, and we're just here to talk to you about a few things in the property department and in family litigation, about how things work and some things that we've come across and just generic topics. So I'll start off. So I work in the property department. We at Bond Adams, we have several teams that work in the property department, and we work with residential purchases, leasehold purchases. We do a lot of commercial purchases and sales. We work with Islamic finance, so gatehouse, and we work with auctions, and we also do your standard residential and leasehold property matters. I personally do a lot of standard purchases and sales. We have many people in our teams where they specialise in certain areas and aspects of the property department. Chan, he works in litigation and family, so would you like to tell us about how the team works in Bond Adams with regards to both areas of law?
Yeah, so in the family team, recently I've been dealing with a lot of wills and probate applications. So today I've drafted a draft codicil for a will. So a codicil is an amendment to a will. So if you've already got a will in place, then you can create a codicil, which is just like further amendments to your current will, instead of drafting a completely new will, which could get more expensive and more time consuming. So I drafted one of those today, and we also do mirrored wills. So for a husband and wife, they've got exactly the same assets, everything the same. They'll have one will, which is exactly the same. Same executors, same trustees, same beneficiaries, which they both could have. And we do Islamic wills, where I'm pretty sure 2/3 goes to the son, and 1/3 goes to their daughter, after a percentage has been given to the other spouse. And yeah, that's what I do a lot. I do a lot of that in wills and probate team. For family, I'm starting to get into like the divorce side of stuff.
Yep.
So during the divorce side, we've been filling out a lot of D36 applications. So that is, so after all the divorce proceedings are done, we need to apply for the D36 for the court to finalise it, to say that these have legally been separated. So I've been filling those out, and I've been filling out C100 forms, and that is to get full custody of your child, and that is mostly the wives that fill those out, and that is basically be able to take them abroad, change their surname legally without their partner's consent.
Okay, so you've been working with a few forms, just basically starting off, etc. So Chan, obviously you've been here for a little while, so you've kind of just about getting your experience over here at Bond Adams. With regards to your the way you've been working, because normally, like for example for myself, I only work in the property department. You work in both family and litigation, and you also do wills and probate. So with regards to the teams, would you say everybody has their own specific thing that they work around, or is everybody pretty experienced with working through all the aspects of a matter?
So for family wills, because it's sort of connected anyway, they can transition pretty easily.
Yeah.
But in the family team, no one really knows much about litigation. So obviously, so when you merge them two together, litigation and family, it is different. But I've got Yusuf Kola as my supervisor, and he's helping me manage both of them together in a good manner. So I don't think I'm having any difficulties transitioning between the two, because both teams are solid, both teams are strong, and I've got good supervisors, as well as Rafiq. I keep going back to Rafiq if I've got any questions and stuff, and he tells me, because he's an experienced in all departments, it's easy to go to him when he knows family litigation quite well. Does that make sense? Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, I think in all of our areas and teams, we always have people that we can go back to and seek guidance from, and we're always learning at every aspect. depending on what stage we're at in a process and in a matter. We have had a lot of new starters, and we always have a lot of people that do join the teams, and it's always been a pleasure because everybody's learning and everybody's helping out, so it's been quite good. With regards to the actual work itself, I'd say in property, something that we have been seeing a lot is there's been a lot of changes to the legislation itself, and a lot of the new matters that are coming in are with regards to commercial matters. Now, that's not something that I work with. However, we have got pretty experienced people that do work with commercial matters, and with regards to, obviously, that's not to say that we don't get standard matters as well. We do have quite a few of them. But in litigation, is there something that you see that comes up or clients do inquire about quite often?
Put me on the spot. Let me think. At the moment, nothing that I've realised, like noticed at the moment. But that's probably because I'm just slowly transitioning into litigation.
Okay.
So I haven't been there long enough to actually notice the trends and patterns of what people have been putting forward.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so in property, you'd always, I think the longer you are with a team, you'll notice there's fluctuations with what matter is kind of on the uprise. So we've always got the standard residential matters and leasehold matters that are always in place. And then we're getting more commercial, but then at the same time we are getting a lot of auction and gatehouse and Islamic finance matters coming in. Something that I would say with regards to the property element of it, with regards to commercial matters, we make it easier for clients when they inquire about commercial matters or any other matters. We have specific things that we ask the client to kind of make it simple for them to actually understand what we are working with and what they are working with as well. With litigation, do you guys have like a set process? So for example, when you first get an inquiry from a client, so whether it's litigation or a family, do you have like a specific template or specific questions that you ask?
Okay, so for litigation, the first procedure we normally do is try and work it out like outside of court, out of court negotiations. So we'll send out a letter to the respondent, and we normally give them about 14 days to get back to us. If we don't, that's when we start issuing proceedings. And for family is different because every client that walks in the door, it's all completely different, because it could be either divorce proceedings, it could be prenup agreements, divorce proceedings with full custody of children, just along. So it's all different because every client is at a different stage. So we skip some forms because it doesn't apply to them. But with litigation, it's usually we send that letter to the other side to say what our client is after, and then if they reply back to us they don't, then we just issue proceedings. But sometimes they do come back to us and we do issue it outside of court, which is obviously best bet for everyone.
That's fine, yeah. So with property, the thing is, even though each property or each matter will be different, we kind of work on a template basis. So we work on a basis where we ask questions to a new client, we get the answers from them, and then we basically, obviously by then, it depends on how you come through, but we provide a quote. Once they're accepted, that's when we go on with actually opening up a file and going out with the client cares and everything. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from with regards to family. It's pretty different because everybody's at a different stage. Something that I've not mentioned is the fact that in property we also work with standard transfer. So I think that's a link between family and property. So we do have quite a few matters that we kind of pass along across the teams. So for example, if, let's just say in family, if you've been dealing with a divorce and now you've got an order in place which basically orders you to transfer the property or the matrimonial home, then that matter would usually come to us where we deal with the transfer side of it. So same way, if there's a property matter or there's something that needs to be passed on to litigation, that's how we'd cross-link both departments in Bond Adam. So in a way, with regards to the service that we offer, it's pretty much you can come to us for a lot of your matters. And not to say that basically if we've dealt with your matter previously in the past, so we'd consider you as an existing client or a previous client, then it's much easier to come back to us and we can just transfer your matter across to the other departments if it is something that needs to be done with a different department. So you won't really need to go elsewhere for any other services. But yeah, Chan, is there anything that you'd like to say with regards to the way that litigation or family works, or anything?
So the way it works. Not that I can think of anything on top of my head. Let's see, for family.
So have you ever dealt with seeing as you've not been here for very long, in the amount of time that you have been here, is there anything that you've done on, like, for example, maybe some forms that you have clients that you'd have to fill out for them, or in a process with regards to either family or litigation, is there anything that you do that's quite often done?
Not for our clients, but when it is divorce, when it's divorce proceedings, like when they're issued, there's always like a finance side to it, to see what they want to share and stuff. So we always ask for the other side's bank statements.
Yeah.
And during those bank statements, we just notice if there's any payments that look suspicious that we need to raise on. So I think it's called a Form E. So yeah, we just fill it out, look for any suspicious statements, and then just raise the concerns to the other side, and they'll get back to us with reasons why they've sent this amount to this person, why they've spent this much here, and then we then forward this on to the courts.
Now that you've mentioned bank statements, that's something that I would like to go on to, because in property, this is one aspect of a lot of matters that we get. So, for example, if you're purchasing a property and you're getting a gift transfer from a client, so in a normal purchase, what we usually do is purchase or sale matter, whichever it is, whether it's freehold, leasehold, commercial, auction, Islamic finance, anything, we usually make you do a source of funds form. Now, in this form, what you need to do is you just need to completely fill out how you will be funding the transaction, and how you'll basically be getting the money. So whether it's through a mortgage, whether you're doing it through your own savings. So for our client directly, we will request bank statements, which can vary from either 3, 6 or 12 months. We do our due diligence on this, and we just check through and see if everything's okay. Obviously at that stage, if there is something that we do need to request further information from, we will do so, but clients are pretty much aware and in the loop with all of this, so we do try to keep it as clear as we can. But on top of that, if there's a gift transfer that you're getting, a gift transfer is essentially maybe a transfer amount from a friend or a relative. So maybe if your sister or your brother is sending you £10,000 to help you purchase this property, then what we will do is in that source of funds form, we will usually request for their details. So that would be their contact details, their name and their address. Then what we do is we usually get in touch with them, and we send them some letters, which is a gift declaration letters and letter of advice. And in there we basically just clarify the fact that they are going to be sending so and so sum to this individual, which would be our client, and that they will not be holding an interest in the property upon purchase. And once that's done, we usually do request for their bank statements. Now, this is to entirely make sure that the funds that are being used in this transaction are clean, and everything is good and it's in place, and that's usually done to for the security of our client, to make sure that everything is going okay. And it's just for the benefit of our clients. So that's something that we do cover. So if there is gift transfers, that's something that we deal with as well. But yeah, that's just something that I wanted to cover now that we were speaking about bank statements. But yeah, is there anything else before we take a break?
I would like to ask you a quick question, please.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
That's all right. So if I was to buy I'm looking to buy a car on finance.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I also want to buy my first house, like a small house for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Would it look bad if the finance payments were coming out my bank statements? Do you? Because I can see it on like where people say it's not a good look for the mortgage company to see.
That's okay. So firstly, with regards to anything affecting your mortgage, we have nothing to do with that. So that's obviously the mortgage broker deals with that side of it. So anything got to do with anything affecting your lender or your mortgage, the mortgage broker will basically advise you on that. We're not authorized to do that. But in terms of the due diligence side of checking your source of funds, if it's recurring payments, we might ask you for details regarding this, but that's as far as we probably get. We wouldn't really get involved in that payment. Obviously, if it's recurring payments where you can say that this is for the finance of my car, or maybe this is my wages, or maybe this is just a standard payment that comes in, then yeah, we don't really flag up every single payment that comes in. It's just certain things that will catch the eye that we really request for further information. But no, if it's recurring payments, it shouldn't be an issue. But then again, if there is something that you feel as a client that might be an issue with regards to your lending, then the first person that you need to speak to is your mortgage broker. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Didn't know that.
That's fine. And we will take a quick break and then we'll get to some further questions or some further topics. Okay.
ہر شے میں ہے تیری قدرت یا اللہ لا الہ الا اللہ لا الہ الا اللہ یا اللہ یا اللہ ہم سب کا معبود تو ہی ہے یعنی لا محدود تو ہی ہے ہر ایک سمت موجود تو ہی ہے ہم سب کا مقصود تو ہی ہے یہ اگتے دن کے اجیارے چاند اور سورج اور ستارے پھول چمن خوشبو یہ نظارے تیرے دم سے ہیں یہ سارے حکم تیرے بن ہل نہیں پائے پھول شجر یہ کھل نہیں پائے تو ہی ہر نعمت دیتا ہے تو عزت ذلت دیتا ہے موت و زیست کا تو خالق ہے تو حاکم ہے تو مالک ہے कार जहां है हर जर्रे में तू ही निहां है तेरी माला सब जपते हैं तेरे आगे सब झुकते
في خلق عظيم وارتقى فيك الجمال فجل من سواك سبحانه أعطاك خير رسالة للعالمين بها نشرت هداك وحباك في يوم الحساب شفاعة محمودة ما نالها إلاك الله
ایک طلب ہے ایک ہی خوب لا الہ الا ہو اب تو ہے اور تو ہی تو لا الہ الا ہو لا الہ الا ہو
وتعز من تشاء وتذل من تشاء اللہ کے حضور یہ ہوتا ہے فیصلہ وتعز من تشاء وتذل من تشاء وتعز من تشاء وتذل من تشاء وتعز من تشاء وتذل من تشاء
دواما علت حظى بالقبول دواما علت حظى بالقبول تبلغ بالقليل من القليل
میرا کوئی نہیں آہ تیرے سوا میرا کوئی نہیں آہ تیرے سوا اے خدا اے خدا اے خدا اے خدا میرا کوئی نہیں.
So we've come back from our break and we have a few things that we'd like to go over. I think Chan has a few questions for me and let's just get started.
Yeah. So, Miss, as you work in the property team, could you please tell me the stages of a purchase, please?
Of a purchase? Okay, so I'll start from the top. So usually we get clients through, so maybe a client might call through with their inquiry. They can contact us directly either by email or by call, or by all means they can just walk through the door. What we usually do is just gather some basic information about the property and about the individual, as in if they're going to be doing a company purchase or if they're going to do it as an individual, how much they're going to be purchasing the property for, and whether they're going to be taking out a mortgage or if it's going to be a simple cash purchase. Once that information's come through, then we have a team that get into contact with that client, and either by call or by email, and we usually ask further questions. So for example, obviously following in from the previous questions, if they've got a gift transfer, how much they'll be getting from the mortgage, what lender they're going to be getting their mortgage from. We are on the panel of, I think at the moment we're with about 53 lenders that we work with, so that's quite a few. Yeah, we cover quite a few lenders, so yeah, that's pretty much that. So that once the initial information is gathered, we send out a quote depending on what they've told us. Once that quote is accepted, we ask for their ID and proof of address, and once that's come in, it gets assigned to a team that will be best suited to work with your matter. So if it's a standard purchase, then it'll come to the team that will work with you the best. So basically we always look for the team that will help you the best in your matter. So if it's commercial, it'll go to one team. If it's a lease matter, it'll go to another team. Auction, gatehouse, anything basically, you will be the person that will be dealing with your matter will be the most experienced at it.
Oh wow, okay.
After that, what happens is we send out initial documentation that you should usually receive as soon as you've been told that there's this team that's going to be dealing with your matter. Usually within 24 hours you get your initial documentation, or you get a email or some sort of contact from that team. We do try to work as quickly as we can, so yeah, within 24 hours you usually get a contact from somebody from the team. After that, we let you take your time to read through the documentation and sign it, and that's when you fill out your source of funds. Then we usually ask for some monies on account. Now that money is used towards ordering searches. Searches get ordered, and in that time we usually make contact with the other side, and if there's an estate agent involved, they will usually send across a sales memorandum, so it kind of makes it simpler to get into contact with the other side. And we get something called the contract pack that essentially has information about the property itself. It has forms that have been filled out by the other side's clients, so the sellers. Once we get that, we send it to the clients for them to review and for them to have a look at and maybe raise anything that they'd like to raise. Once they've done that and send the information to us, we usually raise inquiries. Once inquiries have been raised during that period, we usually get the results back from the searches. So sometimes, in a lot of occasions, we usually like to raise inquiries once the searches have been in, because it's just a better process that way. Once inquiries have been raised, we kind of go back and forth and then as soon as everything is satisfied, we deal with creating a report for the client. The report is sent to the client for them to just have a good overview about the property that they're purchasing. We send across a completion statement which details our costs and all the costs that have been as a process of our purchase. This would usually consist of, for example, land registry fees, SDLTs, our costs, searches costs, etc. This would usually be given at the start of the process anyway, so it wouldn't be anything new, and anything that it is where it might be new, it'd always be communicated with our clients. As soon as that's done and the completion statement is approved, that's literally when we are close to completion, so we'd usually get the clients to come in to sign in a contract and transfer, and then we agree a completion date, and that's when we proceed towards completion. So that would be the entire process basically in basic terms.
Thank you for that. You mentioned inquiries earlier. Yeah. So what do you cover in inquiries?
Okay, so in inquiries, what we do is we do a thorough check of all the documents that we have been given and we already have on the property, including searches. So we will look at first of all, we'll look at the office copies, which are the official register and the official title plan. We have a review of that, of any documents that have been mentioned, so for example any transfers or conveyances. We'll look for any restrictive covenants or any covenants that or any rights, that would benefit the property and the purchaser. We'll have a look through everything thoroughly. We'll have a look at the protocol forms, which are the forms that were filled out previously by the seller. We'll look at the searches, and we'll look at any supporting certificates or documentation that have been passed to us. So we raise inquiries depending on that, as well as anything that the client would like to raise as well. Everything is done at that stage.
These are great answers. Thank you. Searches, you said. How long do they take?
Searches usually take about 3 to 4 weeks to come back. In some cases they do take 6 weeks. Searches usually take long because of the local authority. So the local authority will differ depending on where you're purchasing the property. So for example, it might be Leicester, it might be out of Leicester. It just depends on the council and how long they take to return the local search. But yeah, it usually takes about we'd usually recommend about 4 to 6 weeks. And then but clients, we always tell clients that they're not to be worrying about this time frame, because in that time frame we do work on the side. So we do deal with the protocol forms and any potential inquiries that they'd like to raise with the other side. So yeah, we do get work done on the side during this period.
Thank you. So after all of this is done, what happens after completion, would you say?
Okay, so once the completion, at completion basically what happens is payment is made between both sides. So us as the purchasers would be making before completion, if there's a mortgage in place, we will receive the mortgage advance from the lender, and on completion day we'll make the payment to the other side, and that's basically our part done on completion day. After that, we will get their signed transfer forms, which will be the seller's transfer forms, and we'll always have our clients' transfer forms anyway. And we have a 14-day deadline to submit the SDLT. So that payment, whether it's payable or not, we always have to do a SDLT submission. So that's usually submitted within 14 days after completion. And after that, once we've received the transfer forms, this can take a while sometimes, depending on the posting, etc., because we do need the originals, if that's possible. But we send an AP1 application. That's basically an application to Land Registry to put our client's name, so the purchaser's name, on the title, and to remove the other side's name. And with this time frame usually differs. It just depends on how Land Registry works, so that's not something that we deal with. Once we've done the application, that's for Land Registry to come back to us. In some cases where it is simple, then they will register the land and send us the fresh office copies with our client's names on, and then we send that to our client to inform them that these are your new office copies. And at that point, that's when completion has fully taken place. Not to say, obviously, when completion does happen, the purchaser can move into the property, can get the keys. At that point, it is purchased, but this is completion in writing, essentially. But yeah, in some cases, it can take a while because Land Registry might like to raise some questions that we deal with. Obviously, this is not communicated with the client. We'd give them updates, but essentially the questions that the Land Registry raises, that's something that we as solicitors deal with, and we try to get the application as thoroughly and efficiently sorted out as we can. And once that's all done, that's when they would register the property, as long as they're satisfied. But yeah, that's basically the process after completion on a purchase.
Thank you. Great replies.
Thank you. And following that, I actually have a question for you, Shan.
Ooh, okay, get one.
Okay, so my question was actually with regards to your wills and probate area of law. So you did say that you work in the wills and probate team.
Correct.
I wanted to know, what is the difference between a standard will, so a standard English will, and an Islamic will?
Okay, great question. So, a single English will is simply you just leave wherever you want to anyone. But in an Islamic will, it's predetermined who inherits what. So a percentage goes to the spouse, and then 2/3 goes to the son, and 1/3 goes to the daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all like I said, it's all, everyone knows in advance what goes to what. So it's basically like a template you follow, but in a single English will, it could go to whoever they like. But yeah, that's near enough the only difference.
Okay,
And
so with the Islamic will, is it Sharia compliant?
It is, yes.
Okay.
So it is actually called a Sharia will.
Sharia will.
Yeah.
Okay. So fair enough. So it's basically predetermined, but with a standard English will, that's basically you choose how your estate gets distributed, essentially.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have a 2-week turnaround.
Okay. So with regards to if you want to make a will, then that's fine. But let's just say if somebody passes away and they don't have a will, what happens after that?
So if they don't have a will, that complicates stuff. So we need to then fill out letters of administration forms. So these are forms where we have to send to the HMRC,
Mhm.
basically telling them the assets they have and why, then basically next in line to inherit those.
So would that go down as the intestacy rules?
Yes, yes. You know your stuff.
Something like that. But yeah, okay, fair enough. So even if you don't have a will, it's not much of an issue. It's not like your estate's not going to go anywhere. It will be distributed.
Yes, but it's a much longer process.
Okay.
It can be costly as well.
Mhm.
So we do definitely recommend everyone to have a will.
Yeah, I think that's obviously wills. I think a lot of clients do come in to make wills.
Yes, they do, yes.
Yeah. And that's good. Obviously, a will, I think that's something that everybody should make. It that way you've kind of got that closure in your mind as well as to what's happening with your estate. Can these wills be changed? Let's just say if you've make a will at, for example, 40-50, and then maybe at 55 or something you purchase another property that goes down in the estate. Can you change that will?
Yes, so you can either disregard that will and create a completely new will, and in the new will it will be like ignore any previous wills. That would include the revocation clause. But we also do codicils. So codicils is what I mentioned earlier about where if you've bought a new property or if you want to distribute. So let's say you've got grandkids, so you want to give them assets or cash or whatever. You could create a draft codicil, and that will show amendments to your previously drafted will.
Oh, okay. So it's not like if you make a will, then there's no going back.
Oh no. So the codicil would be like a page document attached to your will.
Okay.
So yeah, they're quite common. But just to note, wills are not executed until both sides have signed. Like that's the witness and the person's will is.
Yeah. Okay. Fair
So a lot of
enough.
people forget that. They say because I've made a draft, it's automatically.
Yeah.
But it's not.
So
like
it
that.
needs to be executed correctly, so that it's actually.
Yeah, and that's 2 witnesses.
Yeah.
Need to go
Okay.
there.
And can these witnesses be anybody?
Yeah, they can be anybody. Obviously, at Bond Island, it's usually just 2 employees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So I think we've covered a decent area of property and wills today. If you do have any questions with anything that was covered today or maybe in the previous sessions that we've had, then feel free to get in touch with us. I'll just go over our contact details if you do want to get in touch. Our number to call is 0116 285 8080, and you can visit our offices. We have the 2 offices in Leicester. One's on London Road, one's on Uppingham Road. We do have offices in Birmingham and Aldershot, so you can visit any of our offices in person if you'd like to and speak to one of us. If you alternatively would prefer email, then you can contact us by email on lawyers@bondadams.com. Send in your queries or any questions. We do assist with simple questions as well. And if you do have a new matter that you'd like to put forward to us, then feel free to do that as well. And we'll be more than happy to get in touch. So thank you for listening in and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
करे ये सारी मिल